And I am going to pin my view. Okay, so recording is in progress. We're going to pick up where we left off 2 weeks ago. We did the breakdown identifying the sons, the 12 sons of Jacob, who is Israel, of course. And also reiterating that I dispute that the children of Israel that were brought over to the Americas only come from the tribe of Sam, who are the Semitics, according to Genesis chapter 10, verse 1. It talks about the three sons of Noah, which is Ham, Shem, and Japheth, not in that order, maybe, I'm not sure, but because I'm just saying it off the top of my head. So Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and we talked about the four women that had the 13 children of Israel, of Jacob, because remember, he had 13 children, he had 12 sons and one daughter. And so in the last lesson, we did the breakdown. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate that I dispute that they're from the ones that came from the theologians say, some of them say, and I have heard, and I have also read in books that the people of color that are here, that were brought over here, are the Semitics. I dispute that because they are the children of Israel. We're not sure which tribes were the ones who were brought over here. Why? Because when the children of Israel, when they fled, the Bible does not specifically identify, nor is there anywhere in research that identify which one of the tribes fled from Jerusalem and went over to Africa, landed in and began to build Negro land, landed in Negro land, and then were brought over to the Americas, South and North America. There's nowhere that says that. And the reason why I say it is because we have to remember Jacob had 4 wives, not just 2. And so we did the breakdown, his wives, Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah. And we know this because according to the scriptures, if we go back to, I want to make sure I go back, Genesis 29 and reading verses 15 through 30, it talks about Jacob marries Leah and Rachel. Now we understand that Jacob worked for 7 years for Leah, and he actually worked 7 years and 7 days and then got Rachel. And then he continued to work for his father-in-law / his uncle, Laban, for an additional 7 years. And so in that, when he married Leah and he married Rachel, he was also, Leah and Rachel were given maidservants when they married. And so at the time that the women were trying to conceive, they also gave their maidservant, and I'm paraphrasing the passage, Genesis 29 verses 15 through 30. At the time that they were trying to conceive, Rachel then gave Jacob her maidservant, and Leah gave Jacob her maidservant. And so by order of the scriptures, so during that time in Genesis 29 verses 15 through 30, it talks about the marriage and then the maidservants that were given to them. And so we did the breakdown, and according to, we're going to go back, talk about, I'm going to hit on it, and then we're going to move forward with the division of the lands, because that's what we're picking up at. And so we know that Leah, she is Laban's daughter. Leah and Rachel are Laban's daughter. They're Laban's daughters. And Laban is Rebecca's sister, who is Israel or Jacob's mother. And so we know the story of when Abraham sent his servant to get a wife for Isaac. When he went to go get Rebecca, he sent him back to his home. And so if you ever get a chance, you can read the story. So we know that Rebecca and Laban are brothers and sisters, and I did show the hierarchy, or the family tree, right? And so we talked about that, the family tree. We showed how Laban and Rebecca are brothers and sisters, and how he has Rachel. And then he also has Zilpah and Bilhah, because they are servants of his servants. And where are these servants? These servants came from, they are descendants of Ham. And how do we know they're descendants of Ham? Because in First Chronicles chapter 5, verse 13, the ancestor of Gad, who is the ninth of the 12 sons of and also a tribe of Israel, his mother was Zilpah, and that's what we read in the breakdown. So his mother was Zilpah. She was Leah's handmaiden, daughter of Rathias and Eunah, who are descendants of Ishmael from Hagar. Okay, so they're descendants of Ishmael from Hagar, and Hagar and Ishmael is the son of Hagar and Abraham. And Hagar is an Egyptian. She was the daughter of the Pharaoh at the time that she was gifted to Sarah as a maidservant when Abraham and Sarah was in the land of Egypt. And so she is an Egyptian, which means that she is a descendant of Ham, because she's a descendant of Mizraim. And Mizraim, according to Genesis chapter 10 and verse 6, it says, these are the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. And we have identified Mizraim as Egypt. And so we talked about that. And so there's the connection. So you have two of the women that birthed the children by Israel were descendants of Ham. They're Hamites. And then you have two women who birthed the children by Israel who are descendants of Shem, which is Sem, who are Semites. And so that's the reason why I dispute that the ones that were brought over to the Americas from Negro land were just the Semitics, because you cannot exclude the other two wives. So you have sons that are Semitic, which were the sons that were born to Leah, which were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. And you also have Zebulun, and then the daughter is Dinah. And then you have sons that were born to Rachel, which were Joseph and Benjamin. And then you have sons, those are Semitics, because remember, they're the children of Laban, and they're Semitic, descendants of Shem. And then you have Dan, Gad, Naphtali, and Asher. Those four were born by the other women. So you have Dan and Naphtali, who are children born to Israel by Bilhah, who is a descendant of Ham. And then you have you have Asher and Gad, who are sons born to Israel from Zilpah, who are descendants of Ham. So we cannot say that the ones that came over here were only the ones that are Semitic. In other words, you would be excluding the other four sons. And so when the children of Israel, when they fled from Jerusalem, went over to Africa and settled, I should say, because they didn't fly and land anywhere. So settled in Negro land, Nagricia, it was the children of Israel. There's nowhere that says, oh, they were only from this tribe, that tribe, that tribe, and that tribe. It were the children of Israel. So I dispute it. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. So so I just wanted to recap on that. And so what we talked about the last time is what I said we would do the breakdown of the lands. And remember, I say all the time that God does not make mistakes. He does not make mistakes. Everything that he does it in decency and in order. He does things strategically in order. And so I wanted to talk about the breakdown of the lands, because remember, this class, just think of this class as a history class for us, right? Remember last time I said, I'm not here to say that, oh, we're the Black Israelites. I think I said something like that, or the Black Hebrews, or the missing tribe, because I remember saying that there's no such thing as a missing tribe. Jacob had 13 children, and out of the 13 children, he has 12 tribes, okay? There's no such thing as a missing tribe. And we're not from the missing tribe of Abraham, or, the missing tribe of Israel. We are from the children of Israel. They were the ones that was brought over to the Americas. And as we spoke about before, identifying them as who they originally were before the splitting of the kingdom, and they were identified as Hebrews. How can you identify Abraham as a Hebrew, but then Jacob, his grandson, as a Jew? Jacob wasn't even alive, and nor was Abraham alive when the children of Israel crossed over into the promised land, the land of Canaan, the land flowing with milk and honey. They weren't even alive when the children of Israel crossed over into the promised land. And so when they died, they were identified as Hebrews. And so the children of Israel, even when they were down in Egypt, they were identified as Hebrews, as we read in the scriptures before. The young lady who tried to, get Joseph to sleep with her, she said that Hebrew. And then also when the servants went to go tell Abraham what was going on, he said, the scripture said he went to tell Abram, and we read that. So I'm just kind of reiterating. I don't need to tell you what the scriptures are. We just reiterating what we discussed in identifying the Hebrews, the Jews, and the Gentiles and who they are in scripture according to Genesis chapter 10. Okay. And so now we're going to do, so as I was saying, this is a history class. I say, because I said, Lord, I was just kind of meditating. I said, so Lord, what is this? What is this? And he said, it's history. It's history that we need to know as God's people, because we perish for the lack of knowledge. We perish for the lack of knowledge. And for the 400 years, 400 plus, because some of us are still stuck saying that, oh, we're Gentiles, when we specifically identify who the Gentiles are, but we still want to, that's still embedded in our brain. So we're stuck. There's so many of us that are still stuck in believing that we are the Gentiles. So we perish for the lack of knowledge, and we've been perishing then, we're perishing now. Why? Because our culture and who we are as a people have been stripped from us. It has been stripped from us. So that is the reason why it is important for us to get into the scriptures and to dig a little deeper and get a better understanding of who we are as a people. Okay. And also, if you missed any of the classes, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's at Samantha Hill 619. You can go to that channel and you can go back and listen to some of the teachings if you missed any of the teachings to get you caught up. Or if you would like to call me, if you have questions, you're more than welcome to do so. Call me and we can have a one-on-one. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, and we're going to go into understanding the breakdown of the children of Israel when they crossed over into the promised land, and how these things connect together, the division of the land, and how things connect together according to scripture. I absolutely love it. I love it because the more I get into the study, the more my understanding is like, wow, this is really amazing. And then of course, you guys know where words come back to me. We've been bamboozled, we've been hoodwinked, and we've been led astray all these years. I promise you, and I stand firm on it, that if you grew up the way I grew up, thinking that we were Gentiles, you have been bamboozled, you have been hoodwinked, and you have been led astray. Why? Because they were not getting into that word. Had they been getting into that word, we probably would not have been suffering as long as we have been. Okay? All right. Anyway, so going into, let's look at the breakdown. So we're going to pick up, I'm not going to read all of the chapters because it's a lot doing the breakdown. So I am going to just kind of put like a little presentation together for you. I hope you like it. And if you have any questions, just, you could drop it in the chat, or you can, say, hey, ask question or what have you. And so the breakdown is coming from, we look at the division of the lands, we go back to read Joshua's chapters 11 through 22. And so with that, it talks about the different things that happened during that time. So what I would want to do, like once they conquered all of the land, because remember, Moses conquered a section of it, and then Joshua came in and conquered it because of Moses' disobedience. When God said, strike the rock once, he struck it twice. We all know the scripture. Okay. And so he told him, you will not see the promised land. He said, you will not enter into the promised land. And so Moses did not go into the promised land with the children of Egypt, with the children of Israel, excuse me. And so after he appointed a successor, which was Joshua. And so after they conquered land, Moses and Joshua's, then the land began to, they divided the land amongst the children of Israel. So let's get into that. I am going to share my screen. And again, if you have any questions, just, you could drop it in the chat, or you could just raise your hand on here, and then I will, call upon you. And again, if you're here, and please drop your name in the chat. Let me know you're here. Or you can call me, and you all know my number. So we're going to go ahead. Let me go ahead and put this, get this started. Bear with me one moment. And I am going to share my screen. And if someone can please come off mute and let me know when you see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So if you see here, we talk about the tribes. So the 12 sons, which are the 12 tribes by mother. And this is what the breakdown. And Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, and Zilpah, Leah's maidservant. And so we have here Leah had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sons, 2, 2, and 2. Okay, so Rachel had 2, Bilhah had 2, and Zilpah. And so we have here Jacob and Leah. Thank you. Okay. We need to put this on. So we have here Jacob, and then the 3 women. So he has Leah, Zilpah, Bilhah, and Rachel, and then the sons that they had. So the breakdown here of what we talked about. Okay. And so the division of the land is going to be from Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Gad, Asher, Dan, Naphtali, Joseph, and Benjamin. However, we do understand that Joseph's seed had a double portion amongst his brethren. Okay. And so with Joseph, instead of seeing Joseph, we're going to see Ephraim and Manasseh, which are his 2 sons. Okay. And let me go to the next slide here. Okay. So I wanted to show you all this is because when Jesus was crucified, and isn't it something that we're coming up on Resurrection Day? A lot of us believe that resurrection is Sunday, but it's really Saturday. So resurrection, we know that when Jesus was crucified, he was crucified on the cross, right? And so I was like, wow, this is really interesting that we're what we're going to do, the breakdown of the division of the lands and how it connects to the cross. Isn't that something? God is amazing. That's why I say he is strategic in his planning. He does not make mistakes at all. Okay, so what I want to show you here, we talked about the children of Israel and the tribe of Levi. Remember, we discussed that they did not have an inheritance. And so the land was divided amongst the 12 tribes of Israel. However, minus the 1, because Levi, the priesthood, they do not have an inheritance of land. Why? Because God said that their inheritance was the inheritance of fire, which is him. He's their inheritance, and they are responsible for the tabernacle. And what was the tabernacle? The tabernacle was in the center of where the division of the lands, as you can see here, where it says tabernacle, and then Levi, the priesthood. And you can go back and read that in Numbers chapter 1, verses 44 through 54, and it talks about the camp of Levi. And I know we're talking about the divisions, but just bear with me. I promise you we're getting somewhere. Okay, so now we're going to go here, and it says, as you can see, we have, this is supposed to say west. I don't know if you all can see that because of this. I don't know. Yeah. Uh-oh, let me go back. So you have so this is west, south, east, and north. And this is according to the division, according to Numbers chapter 2, verses 1 through 34. It talks about the leaders, the tribes, and the leaders of the armies and how they were to be situated in the area during that time, right? Okay, so we're talking about in Numbers chapter 2, verses 1 through 34. And as you can see here, I want to point out, if you go to Numbers chapter 2, verse 1 through 34, and I'm just going to summarize it, but please go back and read it at a later date, because like I said, there's a lot of reading here, but I'm just going to give you the scriptures and the passages, and then I want you to go back and I want you to read it so that you can see the division of the land, okay, and how God works. Amazing. And so as you can see here, let's start with west, which would be up here. So we have Ephraim and Manasseh, and this is the number of people that were in their armies, right? So you have the leaders, and then you have the leaders of the tribes and the leaders by the armies. So Ephraim had 40,500 in his army. Manasseh had 32,200. Benjamin had 35,400, which totaled 180,100 people in their army on the west side. Okay, according to the standards and what God told them, according to Numbers chapter 2, verse 1 through 34. And then on the south side, we have Reuben, who is the leader. So we have Ephraim and Reuben. And so Reuben, he had 46,500. And then you have Simeon, and Simeon had 59,300. And from Simeon, we have Gad, which is 45,650. And then you have a total of 151,450 that were a part of the army of the South. Okay, so now moving down to the east, and I know you guys are getting this by now, right? Okay, you're seeing this. East, you have Judah, who is the captain or the leader of the tribe of the camp on the east side. And from Judah, you have 74,600. And then you have Issachar, who has 54,400. You have Zebulun with 57,400. And then you also have a total of 186,400. Okay. Now going to the north, we have Dan, who is, his tribe is over. And the reason why is because when they will go to war, let me finish this first and then I'll come back. So Dan, he had a total of 62,700 in his army. Asher, 41,500. And then you have Naphtali, which is 53,400. And then the total was 157,600. Now, why is this important? Because when the children of Israel, when they were situated in the camp, when they went to war, they broke out according to the first breakout, second, third, and fourth. And I actually had put this on there, and then I moved it. I don't know where I have it, but anyway, if you read Numbers chapter 2, verses 1 through 34, you will see that Judah is the first, and then you have Reuben is the second camp that breaks out when they go into war, right? And then in the formation, you have Ephraim, and then you have Dan. So that's how it's set up. Let's go ahead. Any questions on this one so far? Wait, no, hold that. And so we're going to do questions afterwards. So let's go to the next slide. And as you can see here, this is the formation. So according to Numbers chapters 23 through 24, these are the prophecies of Balaam. So these are the prophecies in which God showed him. God actually showed Balaam, and then he prophesied, that this is what it is. So as you can see here, Balaam's view, according to what God showed him, he had Reuben, Simeon, and Gad, 151,450. You have Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin, 108, 1,000. Dan, Asher, Naphtali, 157,600. Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, 186, 400. I promise you, God don't make mistakes, okay? So he had already given the children of, he had already told the children of Israel how to form everything according to their camps over in Numbers chapter 2. And so then after that, you see Balaam in 24, chapters 23 and 24, he had 4 prophecies, and it lines up with what we were just looking at over here. It all lines up. And then there's something else that, we're going to get into as well, but it's going to be a little later down the line, connecting these scriptures and connecting the dots together. Okay, and so here, this is something that I wanted to show you. As I said, we're talking about the divisions of the land. So from Joshua, you can actually go back to chapter 11 and all the way to 22, but it starts really doing the breakdown and division in the divisions of the lands in Joshua chapter 13. And you can read that all the way up to 22. Now, I want to show you something. So you have here, you have the divisions of the lands. You have Ephraim, and then you also have Judah. So you have Ephraim, Judah. Then remember we talked about the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right? Okay, and we're going to pick that up. So when the split, according to the scriptures that we talked about over in 1 Kings chapters 11 and chapter 12, we read that a couple weeks ago. And so we have the splittings of the land, right? And so with the splittings of the land, you have the northern tribe and you had the southern tribe. And so you had the tribe that went to the north, which were pretty much all of the tribes except for Judah and Benjamin. And so if you see here, Benjamin is here, and then you have Jerusalem, you have Ephraim, Dan, Gad, Reuben, Simeon, Judah, and up here you have Manasseh, Issachar, Zebulun, Asher, and Naphtali, right? Okay. And so as you can see on this map, you do not see Levi. Why? Because Levi is in the heart of it, which is Jerusalem. And let's look at this. When I tell you God do not make mistakes. And so I wanted to give you some of the scriptures, my Bible's here, when it talks about the breakdown, the divisions of the land, so that you can go and see for yourself. So starting at Joshua chapter 13. And I'm giving you a few here, but just to kind of let you know, it actually tells you in Joshua 13 verses 8 through 14, it talks the land divided east of the Jordan, and then of course so on. Joshua 13 verses 15 through 23, the land of Reuben, and then we have Joshua chapter 13 verses 24 through 28, the land of Gad, and so on and so forth. So you can continue to read that from Joshua, starting at Joshua chapter 11, the conquering of the lands from Moses and Joshua, and all the way up to 22, the divisions of the land. And so just wanted to show you that. And then we have here, God don't make mistakes. Didn't I tell y'all God do not make mistakes? Everything points back to the cross. Everything points back to the cross. As you can see here, Jerusalem is in the center. It's right here. And I didn't do it directly in the center because I didn't want to cover Jerusalem, okay? And so as you can see here, you have Dan, Gad, over here. And then you have Naphtali, Zebulun, Issachar, Manasseh, Ephraim there. And as you can see here, the center, Jerusalem, what does it mark? The cross. God do not make mistakes. It all points back to the cross. Because what did he do? He allowed them to nail him to the cross to redeem man. His number one priority, as he said, was to redeem man. So he died for the sin of the world. He died, he shed his blood for the sin of the world. And so I just wanted to show you all this. God does not make mistakes. And I know that you're saying, but Samantha, it's upside down. Yes, I know. Because when I was doing my studying and I was looking at it, it was actually this way. So it was that way. And I was like, this is weird. But if you go back to the images, like we go back to the first image, put that up. South, north, east is down here, and west is up here. And so the directions changed. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I kept getting confused because I said, well, Lord, wouldn't north be that way? Because we know that north is up, right? And south is down. But as you can see here, it's going this it's going that way. And this is according to the scriptures. You go back to the scriptures, you'll see this according to the scriptures. Why? Because again, according to the vision and the prophecies that God gave Balaam, this is how it's set up. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing this. And let's see, how do I do this? Stop sharing. And then we have a few minutes. And so what I wanted to do was pick up on Hosea chapter 1. And so this is going to conclude this session of it. This section of it, why? Because we talked about the splitting of the kingdom. We talked about that and we read it in scriptures. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. We talked about the capitals of the northern and southern kingdom. When Jesus said, I must go through Samaria, as we call it Samaria, but it's Samaria. And we know that Samaria was the capital of the northern kingdom. And so they were, and the northern kingdom was called the kingdom of Israel. And then we have Judah, which was let me take that back. Ephraim was over the northern kingdom. Ephraim, the son of Joseph, his younger son, was over the northern kingdom, and the capital city was Samaria. And so we know that Samaria is the capital of the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel. And then going down, Judah is over the southern kingdom, and you have Judah is the capital of the southern kingdom. Let me take that back. Judah is he is over the southern kingdom, but I'm not going to say it right now because I don't want to misquote. I want to say that the capital city, it was another city, and I do not have that in my mind, but I will get that for you. I promise you I will. So going back to matter of fact, I don't like to do this. So there's some people that know me when I'm teaching, I always try to make sure that I give you exactly what it is. So bear with me 1 second. And if you, Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is the capital city of the southern kingdom. So the capital of the southern kingdom. Wow, Samantha, did you really forget that? The city of the southern kingdom is Jerusalem, and the capital of the northern kingdom was Samaria. And I'm laughing at myself. I'm like, I can't believe I forgot that. And I'm recording this, so this is going to be funny. Right. Okay. So now we're going to look at, so we talked about the divisions. Now we're going to look at how they were brought back together. Okay. Because God said it. He said, I'm going to divide the kingdom. He said that to Solomon because of his disobedience. And then he said, I'm going to bring the kingdoms back together. And so with that, we're going to go into Hosea chapter 1. And I am just going to read the first passage. So we go to Hosea chapter 1. And I read from the New King James Version of the Bible, omitting the italic, because my Bible, the italic lets me know that that word was added at a later date. And so we're just gonna go into this real quick, and then I'm going to, this is the first, we're gonna read Hosea chapter 1, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 11, and then we're gonna carry this on next week. And so I just wanted to leave off with this. So Hosea chapter 1, verse 1. And it says, again, reading from the New King James Version, the word of the Lord that came to Hosea, the son of Beeri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. And it says, when the Lord began to speak to Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, go take yourself a wife of harlotry, and the children of harlotry, for the land has committed great harlotry from the Lord. Verse 3, so he went into Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and we're going to do a whole breakdown. We're going to start this whole breakdown from this, okay? The daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to him, call his name Jezreel, for in a little I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel on the house of Jehu, and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. That I will bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. Remember, we're talking about the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, and then the kingdom of Judah. Verse 5, it shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again and bore a daughter, then said to him, call her name Laruhamah, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. Yet I will have mercy on the house of Judah, will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword or battle, by horses or horsemen. And verse 8, it says, now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived and bore a son, then said, call his name Lo-Ammi, for you not my people, and I will not be your. And it says in verse 10, talking about the restoration of Israel, and he says, yet the number of children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. Remember, because he said, I'm going to destroy them. First he said, I'm going to destroy them, I'm going to take them away. But now he's like, wait a minute. Listen, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. And it shall come to pass in the place where it was said to them, you not my people, it shall be said to them, sons of the living God. Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall go gather together and appoint for themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land for the day of Jezreel. So we're going to stop there at 6:45. So it says here, then the children of Judah and the children of Israel. Why does he say? Because we're talking about the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. He said, you're going to come back together, and then you're going to have what? I'm going to appoint for them one head. Okay. And when they appoint one head, and then they shall what? Come up out of the land for great the day of Jezreel. So now this is showing where the children of Israel is going to come back together, as they're going to have one head. So it's no longer going to be two, Ephraim or Judah. It's going to be one. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we get an understanding of that and connecting those scriptures. As I said, at 6:45, we're going to go ahead and stop there. For the sake of time, we have our 15 minutes of discussions. And so I am going to go ahead and stop recording. And for those of you who will be watching this video, thank you for joining us.